Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really cool idea that's shaking up how we think about leadership. We're going to explore how to move leadership away from being a solo gig at the top and turn it into something that everybody in an organization can be a part of. So, let's kick things off with this question right here. For the longest time, we've thought of leadership as, a title, a box on an org chart. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if leadership isn't just a role for select few, but a responsibility that everyone can and really should share? All right, here's the game plan. First, we're going to redefine what leadership even means. Then, we'll walk through the three big pillars that hold this whole idea up: alignment, communication, and those core behaviors. And we'll wrap it all up with a key takeaway just for you. Okay, first things first, we have to make a pretty big mental shift. We're moving from leadership being a formal position to seeing it as a daily practice, something anyone, no matter where they are in the company, can actually do. And that brings us to the main event, shared leadership. Now, look at the wording here. It's super important. It's not about finding a few leaders. It's about building a capability that's spread all over the place. It's a shared responsibility. The whole point is to make sure leadership isn't just happening in the executive suite, but it's alive and kicking in every single team, on every project at every level. So, how do you actually make this happen? Well, it all starts with our very first pillar, alignment and narrative. Think about it. Before you could have people leading together, you need everyone pointing in the same direction. You need everybody in the same boat rowing towards the same shore. And here's the thing, this doesn't happen by accident. You have to build it. First, you make sure that every manager, every team lead really gets the core mission. Then, you turn that mission into one single powerful story. And I'm not talking about corporate fluff. I mean a real story that explains why the work matters. That shared story then becomes the bedrock for building trust across the whole organization. It's brilliant, really. Okay, let's build on that with our second pillar. If alignment sets the destination, then communication and trust, well, that's the engine that's going to get you there. This is all about how ideas, information, and that sense of purpose actually move through the company. We've all been in those meetings or gotten those emails, right? The standard updates. They're one way, just the facts, and pretty infrequent. It's the email that just says, hey, Q3 sales are up 5%. Okay, cool. But shared leadership needs so much more. It thrives on inspiring communication. It's not just about the what, it's all about the why. So that same message becomes, that incredible new campaign your team launched? Well, because of that hard work, our Q3 sales are up 5%. And that means we're now on track to fund the research that's going to help us serve a brand new community next year. See the difference? It's driven by purpose, it's engaging, and it makes you feel like your work actually matters. And that leads us right into our third and final pillar, core leadership behaviors. This is where all these big ideas stop being ideas and start being real, everyday actions that people can see and feel. This is what brings it all to life. It all has to start with respect. And this is way more than just being polite. It's about creating a place where people feel genuinely safe to speak up, where every single voice is actually valued and heard. And why is that so critical? Because when people feel respected, they bring their best, most creative ideas to the table. And that is how you unlock the genius of your entire team. Next, we've got accountability. In the old model, accountability was something that was pushed down on you by your boss. But in a shared leadership culture, it's about creating a sense of ownership. People feel a personal responsibility for the outcome, not because they're scared of getting in trouble, but because they're truly bought into that shared mission. It's a huge shift from, I have to do this, to, I get to own this. And finally, motivation. When you have that strong, shared purpose we've been talking about, what motivates people completely changes. It stops being about external stuff, like a bonus or a fancy new title, and becomes something that comes from within. People are inspired to act because they believe in the why behind what they do. They feel connected to something bigger than just their to-do list. And let me tell you, that's an energy that no top-down order can ever compete with. So let's bring this all home. We've redefined leadership, and we've walked through the three pillars, that alignment, communication, and those core behaviors that make it a real living thing inside an organization. If there is just one thing you remember from our time together, please let it be this. Leadership isn't a title you get to hold. It's a capability, a muscle that we all have to build and strengthen in ourselves and in each other, no matter what our job description says. It's a collective power, not a personal one. And that leaves us with one final thought. This isn't some abstract theory for the C-suite. It's a practice for every single one of us. So ask yourself, what's one small thing you can do today to share leadership? Maybe it's listening with a little more respect, or taking ownership of a problem, or just connecting a teammate to that bigger picture. Because that right there, that's where shared leadership really begins.